Aliens Explored is a weekly podcast exploring famous and obscure cases of UFO sightings, alien abductions, and other strange events from both a believing and a skeptical perspective, whilst keeping an open mind. I'm Stu Jackson, a professional actor and amateur ufologist with a particular interest in the crop circle phenomenon. I'll be debating that otherworldly visitations are real. The truth is out there.
And I'm Neil Kelly. I'm a professional actor as well and used to work for the military as an intelligence analyst. I'll be arguing from a more doubtful point of view. I mean, it's all a bit far-fetched, isn't it?
So, I wanted to share this story with you in particular, and to get your thoughts and feedback as always, and also to share with the listeners as well. Before I go into it, I am well aware that there are going to be listeners out there. There may even be a listener in front of me on the screen as I speak, Neil, who perhaps thinks I'm nuts. Who
Take it as read, mate.
Well, before I do, so Neil, you have known me for quite a number of years. I think it's safe to say we know each other quite well.
Yes, yeah.
Would you say that I'm a person prone to flights of fancy or delusional behaviour?
I wouldn't say delusional behaviour. I'd say in your own way, you got your feet very firmly on the ground, very sensible, straight thinking lad. I mean, I know you got this thing about UFOs, about the extraterrestrials, but you take a very measured and scientific approach towards it. I have to give you that. So I would say you got your feet on the ground. So I'm really wondering where this conversation's going.
Okay, so thank you for that. So this was an event. We're recording this Monday evening. This happened Saturday evening, so 2 nights ago. And it started at 11 p.m. I was messing about with a new video camera that I've got. Got it as basically for crop circle filming. One of the features on this camera is it can video in infrared, which is obviously really handy for shooting at night. Now, it's not an all singing, all dancing infrared. I've not spent thousands upon thousands upon thousands on this camera, so it does need a certain amount of light to operate. So I was playing with it, and I was seeing basically what I could see through it at different light levels. Now, Neil, you've visited my flat, or for our American listeners, my apartment. When you walk into the door of the flat, there are two doors on the left. You walk straight into a corridor. Two doors on the left, one door on the right, that's the bathroom, and the door at the end is into the living room, and the kitchen is off that. The first door on your left, as you walk in the front door, is, well, it's like, it's a spare bedroom, but I've actually turned it into my study, come workshop, come storage room.
Is that where you're sat right now?
It's exactly where I'm sat right at this very moment.
Okay, so in the front door, first door on the left, that's where you are right now.
That's where I am. And that door, I never ever shut. Just no particular reason. I just don't. The second door is my bedroom, and like I said, the door at the end of the corridor is through to the living room, the main living space. So at 11 p.m., I'm in the living room, I'm playing about with this camera, I've got various lights on, timers and things, so I think, okay, I think, I'll go into the bedroom, I'll switch the lights off, I'll see what I can see, then I'll switch on a bedside light, see what I can see, and that was my thinking. So I've got this camera switched on. I have to say it is not recording at this point, and
that's a shame.
Part of me is very disappointed it wasn't. Part of me is really fucking glad it wasn't. but it wasn't recording, but it was on, and I could see the screen on the side of it, so I'm seeing everything in monochrome, in black and white, as you do with infrared. I have to walk next to my front door to switch the hallway light off, the corridor light off.
Okay, so
As
you're
I
right at the far end of
swing,
the corridor by your front door.
yes, by the front door. As I turn around to go into the bedroom, because there's glass panes above the door, so I wanted the light in the corridor off so it would be as dark as possible in the living room. In my bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
As I swing round with the camera, oh boy, I'm suddenly getting really uncomfortable talking about this. It passes past the doorway, the open doorway to the study where I'm sat now.
Mm.
As it does so, I'm looking at the viewfinder. Sorry, this is going to take me a moment. Only seen through the viewfinder, there is a grey alien stood in the doorway to my study. It's not visible any other way.
So, are you in pitch black apart from this? So you wouldn't see anything anyway.
No, the light to the study was on. So there was light spilling out from there.
Mm.
But as this infrared, this black and white, there is a grey alien stood in the viewfinder, and to say it terrified me is an understatement.
So were you seeing?
Sorry, no, go on.
No, so how much of the frame did you get of the how much of the frame do they occupy, or how much of them did you have in frame? Was it the full body shot or
pretty much most of the body? I'd say from knees to above head.
Right.
It was, and I only caught a very brief glimpse. It's literally as I'm turning with the camera, so it was a split-second view, but I did happen to be looking at the viewfinder at the time, and clear as day, it was there. I'd say it was about 4.5 foot tall. Very very standard grey alien as we
exactly what you'd expect to see
them.
if it was an extraterrestrial.
Yeah. I did not bring the camera back to say, like I say, I was utterly terrified at that point.
So was it just a glimpse as the camera traversed? You just briefly saw it as you traversed, or were you,
exactly
was it actually
that?
Okay,
exactly that. Just the briefest glimpse. But there, and it's not like there was anything in the doorway that I might have misinterpreted. It was just there. Now, the scientific mind in me goes, why didn't you switch on the record and turn it back? But I was in so much terror at that point. I had to surround myself with light. I instantly switched the corridor light on. So I'm looking now at the doorway because this has discomforted me so much, this event. And there's a lot that happened after this that I'll go into. But I instantly switched the lights. I had to switch the corridor light on. I switched the bathroom light on. I switched the bedroom light on as I went past that, and I went into the living room, shut the door to the living room, all the lights blazing, and I was in a panic. I was in a state of terror.
Wow.
At that point. I didn't know what to do. I could barely look at the camera at all. I mean, I switched it off, put it to one side, couldn't even bring myself to look at it. I tried settling myself down. I tried convincing myself, look, it was a figment of the imagination or an optical illusion, something like that, because, I'm not accustomed to using infrared on the camera. And I was trying to convince myself of that. Then, after about half an hour, I was still in this heightened adrenaline state. And I started hearing shuffling noises coming from the corridor. Then I heard a door. It sounded like a door closing.
Could you identify which one?
No.
Okay. But an internal door rather than the front door.
Yeah, very much so. And like I say, I live in a flat, so an apartment. I'm on the middle floor of 3 floors. You do sometimes hear noises from other flats, but I'm very familiar with what they sound like, their levels. This was definitely this flat that I heard that noise in. Now, one of the biggest frustrations for me, kind of at the time as well, I absolutely did not dare open that door back into the corridor. I have all this gear though. I have a Geiger counter. I have an EMF reader. I have a digital thermometer, laser thermometer, and I use these things for when I'm looking at crop circles. It was all in the study where I keep it stored, so I didn't have access to those things. But at 12:45, so yes, and I should say as well, I armed myself. I happen to have in the living room, in your wardrobe, the rail that you hang things on. I've got one of those. It's about, I would say, roughly the size of a baseball bat, give or take. Think of a 2-door wardrobe. That's how long it was. The width of that. It's covered in a white sort of laminate, but it's quite a solid metal tube.
Okay.
I picked that up and I'm holding this thing, and I'm not just holding it, I'm gripping it. I'm white knuckle on this thing. I've armed myself. At this
Your
point,
superior intellect is no match for my puny weapon.
I was just so terrified.
Yeah, wow.
Now, of course, with it being metal, it picked up the heat from my hand. Sometimes I would basically have to change hands with it because I was gripping it so tightly, and you lose the feeling in your hand. So I would periodically I would change hands, and of course when I did, it would feel cold, because of and the bit where my hand was on it felt warm. At 12:45 a.m. and there was just no way I was going to go to sleep or anything. I put the TV on for a distraction. I didn't know what to do, but at 12:45 there was a sudden, and I mean sudden, drop in temperature. The temperature plummeted quickly. My flat is quite warm. I use storage heaters, so it's giving out heat basically 24 hours a day. It's low level heat, but it keeps the temperature fairly constant. No, this was within 30 seconds, it was suddenly very, very cold in the room. This metal pole that I'm holding gets freezing cold, and not just freezing cold, it gets freezing cold where I'm holding it. I could feel it getting colder under my hand.
Wow.
Which was really bizarre. I got this overwhelming sense that I was being watched. And that cold temperature and that drop in temperature lasted about quarter of an hour.
And then it went back up again.
Then it went back up again. And that feeling of being, you know, when the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, when you just know you're being watched, that went at about 1 o'clock. Now, I'm not saying I felt calm, because I didn't. I was still in a heightened state. Until about 1:15 a.m., that's when, I'd also, I should mention this, I had a pencil and some paper in the living room, so I thought I'm documenting everything at this point. 1:15 a.m., I started to feel calm in myself. No, I wasn't calm, but I could feel myself sort of like coming down from it. 2 a.m., I'd calmed down a lot, but I still couldn't bring myself to open that door into the corridor. Fortunately, because the bathroom's off that corridor, fortunately for me, I had I don't know, I might edit this out, I don't know, but I had a large fabric softener bottle that was empty in the kitchen, which meant I had a toilet to use. Because there was just no way I was going to that bathroom. You know, it was that or the kitchen sink, basically. Yeah, 2 a.m. I'd calmed down a lot, but I still wouldn't open that door. 2 a.m., I had a very sudden, very violent coughing fit that I couldn't stop. That lasted several minutes. Now, I cough occasionally, very occasionally. You might, like, listeners might hear it, but usually I try and edit it out. So that might have been a very unconnected thing, but it's rare for me to have a coughing fit that lasts that long. That's really unusual.
But as you say, you were in a heightened state. You weren't yourself. Your responses were all triggered, so
flooded with adrenaline.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I can't comment on that. Nothing more happens for nearly an hour at this point, 55 minutes in fact, when suddenly I start hearing noises from the corridor again. And I hear a door open and then close.
Bloody hell.
This uneasy feeling.
And you're definitely sure it was within the flat?
Absolutely. I am absolutely certain of it. I mean, keep looking over.
do you, I mean, I don't know how thick the walls of your apartment are, but I mean, do you hear neighbours' doors opening and closing ever?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely I do. It's not loud at all, and it's also noises I'm very familiar with. I feel I would recognize. I know at night, because everything is so much quieter, noises like that sound heightened. They sound much louder than they do during the day. Even of course, factoring that into account, yeah.
What you're not used to hearing is when you're sat in your lounge with your lounge door shut, hearing a bedroom door or one of your toilet doors open and shut. You're not used to hearing
Absolutely that. Absolutely not. No, well, I live alone, so no, it's that sound is a real something's wrong. That feeling of being watched returned around the same time. I've written the noises first, so I think the noises came, then the feeling of being watched. But I can't swear that it was that way round. It might have been the other way round. Couldn't say. But by 3:10, I've written feeling of being watched full on. 3:20 a.m. Walking noises, and I've written door in big bold letters and an exclamation mark. It didn't just close. It didn't quite slam, but it closed heavily.
Oh.
You know, when someone's like closing a door really affirmatively. Not
There's
quite
no
slamming.
no windows
No.
open that would allow a breeze, nothing like that.
No open windows. And my doors all catch on the carpet anyway. There's no way that the wind would, you know, if I've had all the windows of the apartment open before now, and the door to the balcony, I've had like gusts blowing through the flat, and that's still not enough to close the doors. So
Did
that was
you
320. Yeah,
okay?
go on.
Did you at any point think, well, this thing could actually be in the room with me now, for all I know? Did you ever think, why don't I turn the lights off again and turn the infrared on again, so that if he's around, I can see him. He can't sneak up on me. Did you ever think? Did you think to do that, or I mean, did that cross your mind to do that? Even if
To
you
answer the
dismissed it
first
as
question,
thinking,
this could be in the same room as me. Absolutely yes. Especially when I had that feeling of being watched. Absolutely, positively yes. That was a definite possibility. As to the second question, did I think about turning? I didn't want to see it. I was terrified. Absolutely terrified. I couldn't. I could barely look in the direction of the camera itself. I don't know how I. Yeah, there's no way I could have coped with seeing it. Just the thought of that, even now, 2 days later, is no,
yeah.
absolutely not.
So how do you feel about?
Had no interest in proving what I saw. I was just absolutely terrified. Oh, and probably worth mentioning when I talk about my flat. From the living room, the only way out of the flat would be through that corridor. I only have the one entrance to the flat, so yeah. I couldn't even open the door. So the idea of actually pulling the camera out and looking for this thing, no, definitely not.
Okay, I mean, when you first thought you'd seen it, did you think at all? Actually, I'm right by the front door. That's the direction I need to go. I need to get out of the flat and into my car and off somewhere else. Or weren't you dressed? Or
No,
what?
I was dressed. No, my reaction, and it was a reaction, it wasn't a thought, was to get myself into the living room and get that door shut. But I wanted lights. I wanted lots and lots of lights around me. Yeah.
How do you feel about using the infrared gadget on your new camera now?
Uncomfortable. Shall I tell you what happened the rest of the evening?
Yeah. Sorry, I'd.
No. You're asking absolutely the right questions and great questions, but fortunately, so that was like 3:20 in the morning. I hear these kind of like walking, sort of almost shuffling noises. I hear the door shut heavily. Only 10 minutes later, so 3:30, and I made a note of this because it struck me as odd. I started feeling much calmer. I was calming down quite quickly, given the circumstances. It took me a while to calm down. It took me nearly an hour. It took me, in fact, 55 minutes. I've written 4:25, fully calm. Now, I can't have been fully calm because there was no way I was going to sleep. And I also, all throughout this, I've still got this metal stick, this metal pole in my hand. And I wasn't letting it go at all. So I'm saying calmed. I really wasn't, looking back, but I was much, much calmer, much calmer. That was 4:25. 5:30, sudden temperature drop again. And incredibly uneasy feeling returns. That was 5:30. So this had been going on at this point for 6.5 hours.
Yeah.
I was in this state. I'd been going back and forth to the kitchen to get drinks of water. Like I say, I had my TV on, so, you know, and it wasn't on loud because time of night it was. But yeah, at 5:35, I get up and I walk to the kitchen, and as I do so, I move through what I can only describe as a warm spot. Literally, my arm, my shoulder, and sort of part of my chest, part of my torso, felt like it moved through. You know when you step off the plane when you go to a sunny country, and you get this burst of heat. Well, imagine that, but only happening to one half of your body. That was really weird. That freaked me out quite a lot. But I went and I got my glass of water and I went back and sat on the settee. 5:38. So this was 3 minutes later. Something touched my back.
Wow.
To the point I spun around with this metal stick ready to wallop something. Now I wasn't sat right back in the settee. I was sat on the edge of the seat, literally on the edge of my seat, perched forward. You know, as you do when you're in that sort of state. But something touched my back, or it certainly. I'll rephrase. I felt something touch my back.
Sorry, whereabouts on your back? Just to be clear.
Middle of my back, left-hand side. Middle of my back, left-hand side, near the base of my ribs.
And it couldn't have been something like your T-shirt had ridden up and was just falling back into place, or a cushion moving, or something like that.
I don't have cushions, so I can rule that out. I was wearing a T-shirt, theoretically, but it felt heavier than that. It felt more affirmative. It wasn't like, I didn't get poked by anything.
Yeah.
You know when you walk past someone and you might just affectionately put a hand on them as you're walking past? It was that sort of pressure. That.
Okay. Just an I'm here, don't lean back kind of thing. Just
kind of thing, yes. You're not pushing, you're not hitting, you're... Yeah. 2 minutes later, my left arm on the inside of my elbow went red hot and prickly. You know, you get prickly heat.
Yeah.
Went absolutely red hot. And that lasted about 10 minutes. Now, at this point, I'm well aware. Like I say, I mean, this is nearly 7 hours.
Yeah.
All sorts of chemicals will have been swimming around my body, including a lot of fatigue. And I'm conscious that can have all sorts of physiological weird effects.
I was going to ask, actually, given it was such a long period, and there are I think there are some quite big gaps between some of your log entries, aren't there? Between
yes,
4:30, 5:30.
Oh, absolutely.
Would you say how sure are you on a scale of 1 to 10, say, for one of because that's what people doing surveys do, that you were awake the whole time?
Oh, 10.
10 out of 10.
Oh, absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's not that. I mean,
I wasn't having a waking dream. I wasn't dreaming that this was happening and then waking up. Yeah, which I've had. Oh, no, I was definitely awake. Definitely.
yeah. I know from my experience in the army that when you've been kept awake for a very long time, especially if it's dark, you're inclined to things will start moving around. You know, a soldier in the field they have to really mark their points of reference. They know where there's a tree there, there's a boulder there, there's a abandoned house over there. They get it all fixed because once it gets dark, things start moving around. They always do. But of course, you had all your lights on.
Yeah.
I know I'm also prone. It's happened more than once. Been lying in bed, just looking at the ceiling, thinking about things, and suddenly Janet nudges me. That's my wife, and says, "Turn over, you're snoring." And I say, "But I'm awake." And she'll say, "No, you're not. You're asleep and you're snoring." And I'm thinking, that's got to be the shittiest dream ever. You dream that you're just lying in bed awake, looking at the ceiling. You know?
Well, okay.
But
I can verify it a little bit with what I'm saying here because I was watching a program. Sometimes I do quite often rewatch things that I've never seen before. There was a program or a series that I was watching that I didn't miss any chunks of it.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't, I couldn't recite word for word what happened, but there wasn't any. There was no missing parts of it, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
Like, if I'm watching TV, if I'm watching a series and, I fall asleep for a quarter of an hour, and I've done that, that's not, I wouldn't say it's a common thing for me to do, but it certainly happened. You wake up and it's like, oh, hang on, how did we get to this point? There was none of that whatsoever.
I usually start having weird thoughts about things or start imagining, start filling in my own little bits of the story that aren't there and thinking, well, that doesn't fit. What's that all about? And then, oh, yeah, I just imagined that bit because I was falling asleep.
I'm aware of the of the possibility of imagination, especially with all these like fatigue chemicals running around my brain and adrenaline and things like that. Absolutely, I can acknowledge the possibility of that.
Did you also think, well, because of your interest in EBEs and the alien greys, especially the Roswell type greys, did you think that you might be predisposed to, if you saw something that you couldn't quite identify, that you'd be predisposed to resolving it into that shape psychologically?
Yeah, I'm
okay,
open to that idea. Shall I tell you what else happened? I've nearly come to the end.
Please. Yes,
of what
sorry,
happened.
I'm just
no. It is an absolute valid observation. So yes, left arm red hot prickly. That lasted about 10 minutes. About 5 minutes after that went. So this is 5 minutes to 6 in the morning. The temperature plummets again, and this time. So since you last visited my flat, I have moved the living room around quite considerably. It's worth mentioning to listeners that there is only one wall that is an external wall. That's from my living room. That's got a big window in it. Everything else is an internal wall to the building itself. So left and right, I've got neighbours. I've got neighbours behind me as well.
So your bedrooms they've got windows, haven't they?
Yes, it does. But that's
so along that's
the same
living
wall.
room.
Yeah,
it's the same wall along the two bedrooms and the living room. That's where the
Yes.
windows of that's the external wall of your flat.
That's it. And where my settee is now positioned is facing the window. It's in the middle of the room, but it's facing the window.
Okay.
So it's quite relevant why I'm saying this, because as well as the temperature suddenly dropping at 5 minutes to 6 in the morning, I'm suddenly getting a big draft. And I'm getting a draft from behind me. I can't explain that. I've never had drafts in this flat.
Like an if there's a sudden external door to your kitchen that you didn't know about had been opened.
Yeah, exactly that.
Okay.
Exactly that. It's not a small draft. It's a considerable draft. That goes quite quickly, about 5 minutes. And then half an hour after that, so around 6:30, I start calming down again. 6:40, I am suddenly extremely drowsy, like really struggling to keep my eyes open drowsiness. But I couldn't go through that door and go to bed. At this point, I'm pulling a blanket over me on the settee, and I'm starting to drift off at this point. But then I'd wake up again quite quickly, and oh God, what's happening? I've still got the tight hold of this bar in my hand at this point. 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock was sunrise. So the sun comes up. I open my curtains wide. Let as much light in as possible. And at 7:30, I was able to finally open the door from the living room and go to bed. I slept for about 2 or 3 hours. Really uncomfortable, really disturbed. Spent the entire day Sunday on this, just incredibly uncomfortable, feeling utterly disturbed. I think it was Sunday. I messaged you and I said, I want to talk about this thing that's happened. Really uncomfortable throughout the entire day. I was also absolutely shattered throughout the whole day. Today, this afternoon, was the first time that I've actually started truly feeling calmer and relaxed. Oh, Sunday I didn't need to carry the bar around with me. I did take it to bed with me, though, on the Sunday morning when I went to bed. It's still by the bed now. But I'm also conscious, like, talking about this now. So this afternoon, yes, I've started to relax. It's not played on my mind. I've not been looking over my shoulder. Now talking about it, I am. It's put me into this alert state.
You're reliving it in your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So, have you noticed any heat change phenomena or any drafts or heard any doors during this recording while you've been talking about it?
No. I mean, I do have a big old pair of headphones, so if there were noises, I wouldn't hear them anyway. But no, nothing like that.
Okay.
I keep looking at the door to the study, which is where this thing was stood, because I'm uncomfortable. Because, like I said, reliving it, and I do. I'm. Some people think in words, some people think in pictures. I'm very much a picture person. So as I'm relaying the story, I am going back through it step by step. It's something I've already acknowledged in other places that I do.
Actually, yeah. I'm getting goosebumps as well. I'm half expecting it to suddenly appear behind you on screen.
Oh, don't! Oh. Fucking hell, mate!
Yeah, I'm there with you now. You brought me into this story.
I'm now looking behind me because, oh Christ!
Sorry, yeah, you're not the only one, mate. So, Any planned next steps? I mean, obviously, we want to put this recording out there for our listeners
Yeah,
to
I'm
make of it
going
what
to
they
share.
will.
I'll
Um,
get it out and share it within the next few days.
I'm sure our friend Ben from Central Utah Paranormal Investigations will have an interest. He'll be able to
Yeah, I'd be
talk
really
about.
interested to
I'm
hear what he
sure
thinks. I'll message him separately and say, have a listen to this because
it's been a long time since I've had a scare, but I've had the thing with a door suddenly slamming, or you can hear someone breathing, and you look around and there's no one there. I also know there's a thing with, given the circumstances under which it happened. I mean, I know this was a long and prolonged scare, but I know that our eyes use different cells in the daytime as they do at night.
right.
Is it cones and needles, or cones and is it needles? I know that in daylight, you discern things mainly by color, and then when it gets dark, or when the light goes down, um, those cells kind of shut down, and different cells, the other cells, wake up, and you discern things more by shape. But there's this kind of crossover period when they're both sort of half active, and I think that's why people, at dusk, they would see witches in the trees. And I know I was very prone to it especially when I was younger. Things would merge into each other in weird ways, and my imagination would run riot and do the rest. And I'm thinking maybe a similar thing happened. You went from seeing things in the light to suddenly you're looking at infrared, which is picking up images based on, certainly on their outline. There's no color. You've gone from looking at things based on color to things based on their shape. And it's a sudden
Yes.
a really sudden switch, much more sudden than from, as the day goes into dusk and into night. It's suddenly, boom, lights out. But you're actually, normally, if you're in a lit room and you're seeing things, the light goes out for a moment, you can see nothing. And then eventually those cells wake up and you start getting your night vision and you can see things around you. But of course, if you've got infrared, that happens all of a sudden. You go straight with one snap of a finger, straight from looking from effectively it's still the part of your eyes that discerns things by color, looking at an image that's discerning things by shape. I'm trying to rationalize this, mate.
That there is sense to what you're saying. However, there would have had to have been something in the doorway for me to have seen the shape of, to have misinterpreted, surely?
But it was a fleeting glimpse, wasn't it?
It was.
It was just a quick look. I'm thinking, all right, let's go for a more unsettling option. The very first time you switch on your infrared, you see this thing stood there looking at you. That suggests, it didn't just turn up then. It's been there for a while.
So,
and is maybe
worth expanding on this a little bit more. I had spent about half an hour playing with the infrared, but in a lit room.
Okay. Doesn't that dazzle infrared?
Not this particular one. If anyone is interested in the camera that I'm talking about, it's a Canon XF100. It's a camcorder style. No, it does control it. So I had pretty much everything set to automatic. So no, if it got too bright, it would just close the aperture up and
we had
reduce the amount of light coming in.
We had infrared sights. We only had you'd have one per section or one per company when I was in the army, and we're talking a long time ago. And these things were big; they were about I would say 30 centimeters long, and a good. Trying to think of the diameter, about 10 centimeters in diameter.
About the size of a soda can.
Maybe the thickness of a soda can and about a foot long. Okay. And you could mount it on the top of a rifle, but as often as not, we would just use it loose. But the one thing you never did, they had caps on the end, like this tube. One thing you would never do would be to switch it on in daylight or in any kind of light. You wouldn't switch it on until it was dark because you dazzle it effectively, and you'd render it useless, and you'd have to shut it down again for a long period of time till it could kind of recover. I mean, I know we're talking about old technology here, but really, you didn't switch this thing on until you were in pitch blackness.
I think you're also talking about much more sensitive equipment than what's on this camera.
Much more sensitive, and also much older technology. But there is that the infrared could be dazzled by. It's not meant to be used when there's a lot of light around, because it magnifies what little light there is, as I understand the way it works. You don't want to give it a lot of light.
That's exactly it, and it's one of the things I've discovered with this camera is it needs some light to operate, but that's what I wanted to experiment with, was basically like how much. So this is the metal bar. I went and got it from the bedroom.
Okay, so it's a rod, a clothes rod from a wardrobe.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So it was gripping hold of this for dear life.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so next week, looking at my diary, Monday's free and some of Saturday's free.
Well, should we just close off the episode first?
Oh no, I'm thinking of booking in a ghost hunt.
Oh,
come
right.
round. We Monday night we come round and and we switch on the thing and we hunt for the thing with the recorder on. How does that? With both of us there.
Terrifying. Terrifying. That would be.
That could be the end of this podcast. But
the door to my study has half closed
on its own.
Yeah.
The room you're sat in. Okay, I can't see any movement around you. There's no. I wonder if I would see more than you see if I'm looking at you through your camera, or if I would see less.
Stop looking, because I don't want to know.
Yeah, I'm really. Yeah. Can you turn your camera towards the door?
Yes. I mean, you'll see in the back of the door. Let me open it fully.
With the bags hanging.
There we go.
And were those things hanging on the front of the door when you
Yes, they were.
When you saw.
Yeah.
Okay. But sorry, on the door beyond.
Oh, that's.
I can see there's a red thing hanging on the door. What's that black thing that's hanging down?
That's my dressing gown. That's the door to my bathroom, which is wide open.
That's wide open, so I'm looking at the back of that door as well.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that is resolving into some funny looking shapes. Because there's a bright light on it. So the top part of that door is dazzling.
That's a white towel. That's a dark blue dressing gown.
Okay, because what I could see is the white towel obviously blends into the white door, which is reflecting a lot more light than the bottom part of the door below the dressing gown, which looks a cream colour.
Yeah. Well, this thing was stood pretty much where I am.
Okay. Are you feeling any temperature difference?
No, nothing. I mean, I'm feeling uncomfortable, but I'm certain that's just as a result of talking about it. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So there we go.
Right.
Well, this took far longer to talk about than I was expecting. I was thinking this would be like a 10-minute sort of bonus episode.
Seriously? If you'd have just read your log like a monologue, it would have taken longer. But no,
maybe
there's so many things. We can't rule anything out, can we? I mean, you've had an experience.
I have.
Real or imagined. If indeed, as the Maharaja Yogi used to say, if indeed there is a real difference between the real and the vividly imagined.
Well, the effect on me is very real.
It's very real, yeah. The cycle,
the cause. But I
How would you?
pride myself on pragmatism. I pride myself on being able to, if my imagination is running wild, I've always prided myself on being able to recognize that. Now, I still recognize the possibility, but it's why I asked right at the beginning, as somebody who knows me well, would you say I'm given to
Yeah.
flights of fancy,
Um, no more than I am, but actually, I'm quite prone to flights of fancy and scary monsters. Yeah, I was scared of things like that for much longer than I really. I thought, fuck no, I'm 18. I shouldn't be still scared of this stuff. But yeah, it's an active imagination as much as anything. But it could just be real. How would you feel? Not a ghost hunt, but in a safe, what you would consider a safe space, to go with that camera and set it up and put it to infrared and record, lights out, take off all your clothes and expose every part of your body to the camera to see if there are any marks on you. Any marks, especially where you felt heat or where you felt touched or any residue.
You just want to see me naked, don't you?
Yeah. Obviously, that'll go out on our YouTube channel.
Well, I know I've got no marks on my elbow. I do have a small bruise, but that's as a result of a blood test recently.
No, but I mean, look at it in the darkness with infrared.
Infrared.
Look at you to see if there's anything that using the same technology that you saw this apparition.
I'm going to say
see if you can find.
I think that is a brilliant investigative idea. I'm going to give it some thought, because at this moment in time, the idea of switching the infrared on that camera on
I understand
disturbs me. It disturbs me greatly.
I understand that you might not want to do it in your flat, but I was also thinking, if we're going on a ghost hunt in your flat, we'll be looking for signs of it as well, and indentations and footprints in the carpet, fingerprints on the door, any kind of odd.
I'll have a
marks.
Think about that. I mean, if I'm going to do something like that, it needs to be done sooner rather than later, because by now, if there were evidence, it might have already gone.
I wonder. Let's take it at face value. Say, this was an alien grey. It's been looking at you for a while because it knows you're interested in him. Suddenly sees you've got an infrared camera, presumably recognises that for what it is, and also from your reaction realises he's been seen. You go and lock yourself in the lounge. He doesn't feel the need. Well, they don't feel the need. I'm not assuming genders here. I'm not misgendering them. They don't feel the need to leave your flat. They don't feel the need to be quiet. They can sort of walk around, open doors, shut doors. I wonder what it was doing. Do you have any kind of sense for where it was, what it was doing? Did it?
No idea.
Didn't look on your computer. Didn't take anything. Didn't.
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
I can't. No, I honestly can't. I can't think of anything.
I know you're seriously unsettled, but I really do want to delve into this. I really do want to give it a try, give it a look.
I desperately want this to just be in my head.
And
do you know what?
Also to resolve that, but we both were saying, well, there's. I mean, what would be great? What would be great if we turned on the infrared and we saw that thing again, but not just recently saw it and actually had enough time to look at it and realize, oh, that's what it is. It's the light from here and light from there and this object, and it's making it look like. Because I have an inclination. I'm that way. I'm predisposed to resolving it into that kind of that would resolve it. That's what would resolve it once and for all, isn't it? if we just found nothing, it would be, well, was it, wasn't it?
There's that thing, isn't there, in the human mind where we see faces in things. We resolve images, unfamiliar images, into familiar shapes. I absolutely 100% get that. And I can definitely see the possibility.
How about another possibility, investigative, some kind of movement sensor that you can set your camera up somewhere. Infrared movement. It will record if it detects movement. And
I don't
you
have
see
any
what's
motion
making.
sensors.
No, but wonder what if we could source one, or just to see if your doors are opening and closing on their own, if there's any movement.
Well, so while I've been sat there, door's still open, see? So that door doesn't close on its own.
No.
I'm looking at it now, watching it, waiting for it to move so I can turn the camera back and say, look, it's moved.
Yeah.
No, I don't want it to. That's the thing. I don't want
Can
it
you
to.
can you put a marker down? Have you got a bit of tape you can put on the carpet to put a marker so you can definitely see if it's moved? Or I suppose the ET could move the tape as well, couldn't it?
Well, no, I could do that, but don't forget, I don't want to know that it's. I want evidence that it's not happening, not evidence that it is.
Sure. Yeah, I can understand
my confirmation bias is going the opposite direction.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Your first reaction was, no, I don't want to see this. I'm not ready to meet him.
I'm feeling a chill now down my back and feeling cold, but I think that's probably me being unsettled.
Yeah, cold shiver down your spine.
It's not just my spine, it's down my arms and
hair standing on end, hackles up.
What hair?
Full fight or flight mode. You got
I'm not getting that. I'm just feeling. I'm feeling unsettled, but it's not fight or flight. I'm not getting adrenaline. I'm just unsettled and cold. There we go. Anyway, that's been an hour.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Interesting. Well, thank you for listening to my ramblings, and
it's been interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
But no, have a think about what experiments you'd like me to. I say I can't promise I will do any and all, but
I wasn't thinking that I would leave you on your own to do them after what you went through to actually.
Okay.
Oh, well, just go and face it. Get your camera out and go out there. Say, come on, let's get you on.
People would. I'm sure there are plenty of people who would be prepared to do that. Some to, to see if there is anything there. Some to prove to themselves that there's not. I just can't shake this feeling. What if I saw it again? What if I absolutely incontrovertibly saw it? Just the thought of that.
It might grant you 3 wishes. You never know.
What the first one would be for it to fuck off.
Would you like a couple of £1 million? So you don't have to work again.
That's actually worth mentioning very quickly as well. Throughout the entire experience, repeatedly, I must have done it maybe 4 or 5 times. Something I picked up from my mother. So I would, as a child, I would feel the presence of things sometimes that I couldn't see, and my mother believed very heavily in spirits. She was an alcoholic, so spirits of all kinds. But as a young kid, she said to me, "If you feel anything like that, just ask it politely to go away." So 4 or 5 times I did that, I tried saying,
Hmm.
speaking out loud, saying, please leave me alone. This is terrifying me. I can't cope with this. Please leave me alone. Particularly those moments when I felt like I was being watched. Didn't have any effect.
No, I always thought, the elements of a good ghost story. There was one, was it called The Others, that came out, well, years ago. But I always think a good ghost story is one, it starts off terrifying. People encounter something and it scares them out of their wits. But then once they work out what it is and what happened, it actually resolves into a very sad story. But that's ghost stories. That's different from, I think, I'm sure our friend Ben would verify that.
Sensing a presence of an unseen entity. What's different about that?
Yeah. So we're all energy. It's just more energy that you didn't expect.
Well, there we go. Okay, well, we'll end it there. Hopefully, listeners, you found that entertaining. And do let us know what you think. If you think I'm absolutely bonkers and nuts, let us know. If you think, well, no, I've clearly experienced something, share your thoughts on that as well. But yeah,
and if you can think of any more experiments, any experiments we could try to resolve this one way or the other, we're all ears.
Not making any promises there. I might move my my crop circle kit, as I call it, into the living room though, because if I'd had my digital thermometer, I could have taken temperature readings, recorded it on video on my phone. Who knows what the EMF reader would have been doing, or even the Geiger counter. I know that strong electromagnetic fields can influence the way we feel, make us feel like we're being watched and things like that. So maybe there was some strange electromagnetic phenomena going on.
This camera, does it just record to a memory card in the camera?
Yes, it
or
does.
Can it record straight? Can it broadcast straight to into the cloud or onto a?
If I connect it to a computer that's connected to the internet, I can use it like a webcam sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like a webcam. That
that takes quite a bit of setting up.
You might feel more secure.
But...
Yeah, but knowing that, if you're in the dark with your camera, you're not on your own. But actually, this is all the footage is going out there. Anything that reveals itself is not going to be seen just by you. And in a way that, no matter what it does to the camera or to you, that sighting is out there. Can't stop it.
Oh, like Aliens Explored Live.
Yeah. But actually, we don't know what the capabilities of these things are. Maybe you can do all sorts of things.
Maybe once I feel less uncomfortable, maybe that's worth.
I think it's something we should do together. I think that would. A paranormal investigation. We should talk to Ben. We should get. You know what? We should get Ben on the show, and we should talk to him about paranormal investigations.
That's a good idea.
Get some tips, and then.
In the meantime, listeners, tell us what you think. You can email us aliensexplored@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and all those places by searching Aliens Explored. Do let us know what you think of this. Love to hear your thoughts. Thank you, Neil.
Next time. Yeah, my pleasure.
Take care. Keep watching the infrared footage.
You can laugh about it now.
You've got to.
Yeah. Aliens Explored is a Feagle Films production in association with Juicy Falls. Music by Darren Mafucci and editing by Stu Jackson. Find us on Twitter or Facebook by searching Aliens Explored, or visit us on aliensexplored.com.